Some of the comic drama which has happened at Faulty Towers is captured on this BBC LP record, available from record shops. In 25 minutes here on BBC1, The Good Old Days. First, with the time at 1 minute past 9, the news from London with Angela Rippon.
The national steel strike closes all British steel plants. It looks like being a long stoppage. Anger at Russia over the invasion of Afghanistan. The demonstrations spread. Police in Belfast detain Gerry Adams, a leading figure in the Provisional Republican movement. The Patriotic Front leaders want the ceasefire extended to get all their men out of the bush. And how a famous naval exploit, the escape of the Amethyst down the Yangtze, could have threatened peace 30 years ago. Good evening. Britain's first national steel strike for more than 50 years has, on its first day, achieved its initial objective. It's halted all iron and steel making at British Steel Corporation plants. About 100,000 men are idle, and although private sector production continues as normal, the strikers are to receive fuller support from the transport workers than expected. Throughout the country, the strike call has been solidly supported. British Steel's Welsh division has the corporation's biggest concentration of manpower, but from Shotton in the north to the big centres of Port Talbot and Llanwern, the picture was the same and typified the response throughout Britain. Despite the fact that many jobs here are already doomed, the pickets were out in the freezing cold of early morning.
At Llanwern, the union action to halt the industry began at first light. Pickets were posted outside all the major steelworks in Wales. On strike are members of the main steel union, the Iron and Steel Trades Confederation, as well as members of 3 other unions, the blast furnacemen, the transport workers and the construction workers. But still at work are a third of BSE's 46,000 workers in Wales, craftsmen and clerical and management staff. They're still negotiating about pay, and most waited patiently today to get past the picket lines and into work. Their response made little difference though. Steel production at all the works in Wales stopped before the strike started. According to the unions involved, all those who should have been on strike did come out.
We're entitled to talk to you and try to persuade you not to go to work.
And different union allegiances are likely to leave a legacy of bitterness among some when the strike is over.
Now, if you insist on going to work, you can go to work. Nobody will stop you, and nobody will touch your car. What's a car? Careful of the car.
At the South Wales plants, the jobs of thousands are at risk. But at Shotton, the Steel Corporation's streamlining plans has meant that steelmaking will definitely end in 2 months' time, with more than 6,000 redundancies. Here too there was support for the strike, although most of the workers at Shotton will gain very little from any victory in this dispute.
There's been no iron and steel making anywhere today throughout the nationalised steel industry. The long Christmas and New Year holiday, which ended yesterday, simply merged into a national strike by the 2 main production unions, which has all the signs of lasting some time. Other unions in the industry have reaffirmed their support for the strikers without, as yet, joining in. And the TUC, as is the usual practice, will be asking them to do no more than their normal work. Canvassing the support of other unions has occupied most of the day for Bill Sears, the leader of the biggest steel union, the ISTC. This morning he saw Sid Wheel of the NUR, the main rail union, who agreed to tighten up their sympathetic action against the movement of steel and raw materials, both within Britain and coming into the country from abroad.
Mr. Sears made a request to me as the British representative on the International Transport Workers Federation Executive Board whether assistance could be given on an international scale. And as a consequence of a discussion I've had with the General Secretary of the ITF, it has been agreed to issue specific instructions today to all our affiliates throughout the world to ban all movements of steel to Britain.
In my view, it was necessary to ask for a further tightening up in as far as imported steel is concerned. I think I have said to you before that I would like it to be short and sharp if possible, in order that indeed the suffering in the long run can be less. And if we can prevent steel coming into this country under any circumstances, I would suggest that industry may then be in a position of persuading this government and the employers that they will have to attempt to settle the problem.
Such a ban on steel coming into Britain should mean not just railwaymen, but dockers and lorry drivers refusing to move any steel that does get shipped into British ports, and these are mainly the Humber ports. and it will mean steel going to private firms not involved in the strike being stopped. It's easy to see why the steel workers are concerned about imported steel. It accounts for 21% of the home market. The private sector steel makers like GKN, who are working normally, have 25%, and the British Steel Corporation 54%. A consignment of Dutch steel was offloaded today at King's Lynn and Norfolk, 800 tonnes of sheet steel and coil for the car industry and washing machine manufacturers. The British Transport Docks Board say it was unloaded and dispatched to customers as normal, but it may be the last if the union's action is effective. The effects of the strike on British industry will take time to work through because of the relatively high level of stocks being held. But when the strike does bite, it will bite deepest perhaps at BL, which gets 80% of its sheet steel from the British Steel Corporation.
BL is far and away the Steel Corporation's best customer. For the moment, they have stocks that will keep car production going for a month. BL also imports steel from Germany and from Belgium. The component makers who supply axles, castings and wheels for BL cars say their stocks are good. On top of the stocks of steel, BL have stocks of cars, larger stocks than they would like. They extended the Christmas holiday at Rover because there were more than 10,000 unsold cars in the showrooms. But the firm have plans to put that right. In a couple of weeks, they're launching a Buy British drive to boost their sales. A protracted steel strike could leave the firm in the all-too-common situation of creating a demand for their cars that they're unable to meet.
Well, on day one of the strike, just how negotiations are to be resumed, as they will sooner or later, hasn't figured at all. The Steel Corporation chairman may talk about the door still being open, but the big gap between the two sides is unchanged. And the greater pressure may be on the union side, as the solidarity of men in plants which are earmarked